All right, everybody. Welcome to my tutorial on how to use HPE Comware with OSPF. We're going to specifically talk about route aggregation and route filtering. So I'm using the HCL or HC3 lab software that is available for free on HP's website. This will simulate Comware routers and layer 3 switches. At least that's all I have images for, routers and layer 3 switches. But very sufficient to do what I am doing here today. There's going to be a link in the description for this software, and you should be able to use it. I did not test or check compatibility with Linux or Mac OS. But on Windows, you should be able to duplicate this whole thing. I'll also have all of the configuration bits here in the description as well. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to just go ahead and paste all these things in here. You'll have to just pause it and look at these configs and figure things out as you go, and I'll try and explain the best I can. But I want to make this video quick and short. When you first start these up and you connect to them, on the console, you have to do Control-D if they are a fresh image, and that will get you past its auto configuration stuff. Then you can start laying down your configs onto it. So pasting the config from that one, Control-D on here, and we'll go ahead and just get these pasted in, and I'll describe a few things that are pertinent to this setup, and then we'll get into looking at routes and other bits. So those are all pasted in, as you can see. We're just waiting for the OSPF neighborships to establish. They've already established between these three routers, but we're waiting for it to go between this one and that one, and this one and that one. While we're waiting for that, some description here of this setup. So this side of the connections is an OSPF process, and then this side is a separate OSPF process. 123 and 135. What we're testing here is we're going to do an aggregate on this OSPF process from this router for the routes that it has, and we'll see those on here, the aggregate on this side. And then the specific routes will be advertised across here without an aggregate, and we'll also see that. And then we're going to test doing some route filtering using a filter policy, or in the Cisco world, that is a distribute list. So anyway, we're going to filter out specific routes on from this process that are advertised from here, so that they don't end up in this thing's global route table. So it looks like those processes have come up, and all those, and neighborships are established. So we'll go ahead and look at the route table here. In Comware world, the commands are display instead of show. So we're going to do a di IP route route I. So let's see. You'll have to go and look at the config for this router, but we see the aggregate route and its next hop is this router 2, and then you see these specific routes and their next hop are all this router. So just as I described. Now we're going to go ahead and apply the prefix list with a route policy. Route policy is the same thing as a route map, just different nomenclature in the Comware world. There's a lot of that going on here. But if you look at the syntax here, it's very, very similar. Like if you are familiar with Cisco and you look at this, you probably know what's going on. So here we go. We'll apply this, copy it, and just one thing to note, in the OSPF process that we're applying this route policy to, I've already got a filter policy in place, and it's FPT stands for Filter Policy Test. and it's on import. That means received routes. Same thing as received routes in the Cisco world. So go ahead and paste that stuff in, and as you can see here, I don't have the prefix list on this router. It doesn't exist. So where it doesn't exist, it looks like the default is to not filter anything since it doesn't exist. So pasting that in, and I've noticed this takes a little bit for it to actually apply. So let's look. Die IP routy. And it's routing table is what it's a summarization for, routy. Okay, so looking here at the top or in the middle now, we see the same summarization coming from this side in this OSPF process, and we don't see the three networks that, or hosts in this case, since they're /32, they're not being advertised because they're being filtered out. And so now I'm going to go ahead and remove those, and we're going to apply this prefix list, which it's just a summary prefix, and we're doing anything less than or equal to this length of 32. So it's going to get everything that's in that within this range. All right. Now, also one thing to note is in this world here, if you want to get rid of a prefix list item, you go to the node number. You get rid of everything after that. And we'll do Control A, which gets you to the front of the line. That's the same here as in Cisco world. And then here's the difference, undo instead of no. And that'll get rid of that prefix list entry. Undo is just how Comware decided to do that, and it makes sense. You undo that line. Cisco world also makes sense. No, that line. Okay, so those are gone. And now we're going to go ahead and apply this filter here, or this prefix list. And we'll give it a second and then look at the route table. In fact, we'll do a pipe include, same as in the Cisco world. One thing that Comware lacks is a section. They don't have that, so just include, and we'll just do anything that is 4 dot whatever. Yeah, how about that? Give us a little bit less of a list to look at. So that has applied, and we are seeing the aggregate route being advertised across this side of it, and we're not seeing any of those 4 networks coming from this side. So we've successfully applied an aggregate and also filtered routes. One thing that I just want to show you real quick, we're going to get back into the OSPF process on this thing, and I just want to show you one of my favorite commands in the Comware world. And I will put out a video just kind of explaining all of the basic configuration things for Comware versus Cisco. But this one is by far my favorite. Display this. So die thigh. Boom. You see just the context that you're in. So let's say I want to see what the configuration is. I'm in interface int GI 101. I want to see just that. I just do die thigh. I don't have to remember what interface I'm in. Also, it is pretty convenient that it shows you that you're in that interface. But die thigh is by far my favorite command in all the in the Comware world, and I wish Cisco would implement it because it is awesome. Well, that concludes my video on this. If you have any questions or comments, please leave those in the proper section, and be looking forward to my future videos on Comware and also Cisco routing.